So, on Friday the 13th, in a move that shocked the world, shocked us to a certain extent, shocked the whole region, Israel launched a preemptive strike deep into Iran's heart, into the heart of its nuclear program, into the heart of its leadership, into the heart of the Republican Guard. And Israel did this sending a clear message: the waiting is over. The Iranian threat that was so pivotal in what happened in Gaza and what happened in Lebanon and what happened in Yemen and what happened in Iraq and what happened in Syria, that threat will no longer be tolerated. Israel is taking matters into its own hand no matter what the cost. Don't make a mistake here. This is not a skirmish. This is not a retaliation. This is not a tit for tat that Iran wants to play. This is a declaration that Israel actually is saying, we will never allow you to be the threat that you are to us right now. And we knew there was going to be a retaliation. We knew that there was going to be a result to this. We moved forward anyway because this is not just a war of missiles and jets and drones and anti-aircraft, but this is a war of ideologies. This is a war of empires. I'm going to say even more than that. This is a war of prophecies that are clashing in the Middle East today. And we want to talk a little bit about that because what's important is that Israel is dedicated to the continued existence of the Jewish people, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Jewish people as a nation in their biblical homeland. This isn't just a political mission. This isn't just a military mission. This is a mission about the covenant. And that's what I want to talk about today. This is David Tal. This is a Balagan Connection. And what I'm going to do today is to look down the barrel of the war with Iran, the war that's going on in the Middle East, and answer the 7 big questions that I hear people asking me on a regular basis. The questions that are actually trying to expose what is really going on, what's the truth behind this. And some of the questions are really weird because it seems to me very, very clear, but some of these things are not so clear. So stay with me to the end. We're going to go into these 7 different chapters that actually take into account the different aspects or the different parts of why there's even a war between us and Iran. And just to start it off, these are the 7 issues that we're going to be dealing with. Why has this war broken out between Israel and Iran? What's the main reason? The second one that we want to talk about is, why did it start now? What happened now that pushed the button and triggered this whole thing? Why does Israel have a problem with Iran? I mean, what's our issue with Iran? Why does Iran have a problem with Israel? That's a very interesting one. Number 5 is going to go into, why does it seem that Israel is always the aggressor? Why does it always seem that Israel is fighting against this and aggressing this and attacking this? And we'll go into that a little bit. The 6th question, I think, is, why are so many countries in the Middle East problematic as far as Israel is concerned? Why does the Muslim world, why does the Arab world have a problem with Israel? We're going to go into that a little bit. And the 7th question is, how does the United States of America connect to all of this balagan? So we're going to go into that. Before I forget, somebody's asked me, and I'm going to reply again. Balagan means mix up, mess up, something that doesn't go according to plan. A circus is a big balagan. An attack by the enemy is a balagan. Or you can have a little balagan when the battery goes out in the camera right in front of me, just like it did a couple of minutes ago. So that's what a balagan is. And we're going to be connecting all the different pieces of the balagan as we go on. And so stay with us till the end of this. This is going to be a very interesting chapter that doesn't go into what's happening right now, but goes into why basically it's happening. Let's start off with number 1. Why has this war broken out between Israel and Iran? This is not just another round of airstrikes. This is not just another phase in this big war. There's something very, very basic, something very, very problematic going on between Israel and Iran. And it's been going on since the 1970s, actually specifically since 1979, when Iran overthrew the government that it had. It had a king-like or a dictator called the Shah. They overthrew them in 1979. And that's been an issue between us and Iran ever since. Israel, though, has crossed a line now that few thought it would. It went straight to the heart of Iran's nuclear ambitions, Iran's nuclear program, Iran's nuclear weapon facilities. And the question is, why? Iran has spent decades arming and funding terrorists all across the Middle East, and basically some of them have actually pushed out to other places. It's crossed every red line and every boundary. It spent millions of dollars and countless lives pursuing a nuclear weapon, not just to defend itself, but to threaten the world into submission. The world has told Iran again and again, don't go there. Don't do that. You don't need a nuclear weapon. There's no understanding. There's no reason for you to get a nuclear weapon. Iran has said, no, we don't want a nuclear weapon. We want nuclear capability for peaceful purposes. But here's the thing. Iran has the 10th biggest resources in oil and natural gas. What do they need a peaceful nuclear program for? And Iran wouldn't let go. It's gambled its economy. It's gambled its global reputation. It's gambled a lot of everything that it is in building that bomb. And now it's facing the consequences. I don't really understand. Well, we'll go into this a little bit later. But they have spent so much money and so much energy and so many lives in attacking Israel. From any other point of view, it doesn't make sense, but the prophetic. And we're going to go into that as we go along. Why did this happen now? I mean, what was the main trigger that started this off? The main thing is that time had run out. Iran is closer to a nuclear bomb than it ever has been. Based on what we now know, and based on what we're hearing both from the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, and from the United States, I think President Trump said just a couple of hours ago that Iran was literally weeks, if not, well, he said months, if not weeks, away from the nuclear bomb. We have tried to curb, everybody's tried to curb Iran's nuclear program with deals and inspections, but they were stalled and they failed. And we know today that Iran has been playing everybody in a merry-go-round. But there's something else that has happened now that has triggered the need that Israel sees, or the opportunity that Israel sees, to pull off the attack now. Something else happened. Iran has created, over the last 2 decades, what they call the Ring of Fire, a network of proxies that surrounded Israel and would be a way to project their power on Israel and to other parts of the Middle East. For Iran to project power away from its borders, it has to build a massive army, and it has to be able to attack an enemy and to be able to withstand or stand up to the retaliation of the enemy. Meaning, if you want to be a power, like in this case in the Middle East, you have to have an air force that can project power across your border, and you have to have an anti-air defense in order to stand up to the enemy air force coming back at you. But Iran decided not to go that way, and they went a different way. And the way that they went was the proxy, the projection of power through proxies that are not actual Iranian, but can be used to do Iran's bidding or used in the war that Iran is fighting. Okay, and the idea was that the Hezbollah in Lebanon, for instance, would be an Iranian proxy that if anybody attacks Iran, the Hezbollah in Lebanon, which was another massive army in itself, they were talking about the Hezbollah having something like 100,000 rockets and something like 200,000 men actually in arms. It's a military, it's an army like any other army. The Hezbollah would be able to retaliate in the name of Iran, or would be a threat to anybody who wanted to attack Iran. They used the Houthis in Yemen as a proxy, meaning it's not us, it's the Yemenites. We will give them arms, And when we tell them to close the Red Sea and the Straits of Bab el Mandeb, then they will do our bidding. And the idea behind the proxy is one, you don't take responsibility. I mean, don't attack me. You have a problem with Yemen? Attack Yemen, okay? Two, the proxy does the bidding. And three, it is cheaper than actually building up a military that can take on Israel, for instance. So that was the idea of the proxy war, or the ring of fire that Iran had created around itself in the Middle East. And the idea was that Iran would create this ring of fire, that when they decided that it was the time, they would press the button and all of these different aspects would attack whoever they decided was the enemy. It might be Israel, but it could also be used against Saudi Arabia. It could also be used in Syria, and so forth and so on. This is this ring of fire, and I got to tell you, knowing what we understand or what we know today, it was a pretty good plan, basically. Think about this, okay, and what we've been going through. Think about the 7th of October with the attack from Hamas. Think about the Hezbollah, with the war that we've been waging with Hezbollah, but with 100,000 rockets that they're firing on a regular basis. I mean, firing 1,000 rockets a day into downtown Israel. Think about the militias in Iraq, using their base of operations to fire against Israel. Think about the Houthis firing against Israel. Think about what Iran has done with the 400 rockets that they fired at us since the beginning of this. And you are looking at an existential threat to the state of Israel. That was the plan. But thank God it didn't work out that way. Because on the 7th of October 2023, pushed the button too early. They launched the October 7th attack thinking that they would shame the rest of the region, the rest of the Arab world, into following their lead. They thought that Hezbollah, once it saw that the Hamas was attacking on the southern border, would use all of its arms and all of its rockets to attack Israel, meaning Israel would have to fight on two borders. But the Hezbollah today is no longer a threat. And the Syrian regime is no longer a threat. And the Iraqis in Iraq are no longer a threat, which means the ring of fire, because of this year-and-a-half war that we have been fighting, okay, has lost its potential, has lost its initiative, and as a result of that, the situation is completely different. With the Hezbollah weakened, first by remember the pager attack, and later on with us completely decimating the higher command, with the Hezbollah weakened in Lebanon as a result of the war with Israel, and because they didn't go full-fledged into the war. So the situation now is, because Sinwar pressed the button too early on the 7th of October 2023, thank God, okay, then the Hezbollah wasn't ready to go full-fledged into the war, which allowed Israel to deal with the Hamas first. When we more or less finished dealing with the Hamas, we went into Lebanon, the whole pager attack, and then completely taking out the chain of command in Lebanon of the Hezbollah, and finally taking out Hassan Nasrallah. As a result of that, Syria, which was using Hamas fighters to hold up the Assad regime, falls apart and is overrun by this new Syrian dictator. And for the first times in decades, Israel sees a window, a narrow opportunity to deal with the Iranian threat directly and not have the ring of fire around it. Add that to the fact that we have a supportive U.S. administration behind the scenes, and the ground was finally ready for this attack. Question number 3, why does Israel have a problem with Iran? Because Iran has made it clear again and again and again that Israel must be wiped off the map. Because Iran has said that we are going to destroy Israel. Because Iran has said again and again, death to Israel, death to U.S., but death to Israel. This isn't a theory. This isn't a chant. This is their policy. This is the Iranian obsession. We know every Friday the Iranian government gets together and yells in the middle of the Iranian parliament, death to Israel and death to the United States. And Iran goes and funds the Hezbollah in the north. It funds and trains the Hezbollah in the south. It gets the Houthis ready. They flood the world with lies. They flood the world with anti-Zionist propaganda. Israel's problem is not with Iran because it's just a different country. It's because they want to kill us, and they say they want to kill us. It is an existential problem. No other country on earth declares so openly, so frequently, and so, how do you say, poisonously, that another nation needs to cease to exist. And no other regime bankrolls terror groups and weapons in order to bring about the demise of a different nation. Israel doesn't want this war. We don't have a border with Iran. We don't have a problem with Iran. Iran has oil and gas. We shouldn't have a problem. The problem that we have is that Iran has a problem with us. And we cannot ignore the threat of annihilation. Don't forget, we are the Jewish people. And if we've learned anything from history, it's that when somebody says they want to kill you, we take them seriously. If they say they want to kill us, we're supposed to believe them. In the 1930s, we didn't believe them, and the Holocaust came around. In 1973, they said it, and we didn't believe them. And the Yom Kippur War almost finished us off. On October 7th, 2023, they said they wanted to kill us, but we didn't take it seriously. And look what happened. Never again for us, never again is not a slogan. It's personal. It's about survival. It's about seeing the danger before it knocks on your door. It's about standing up to the enemy no matter what. And this time, we're wide awake. This time, we're ready for what is happening. Number 4, why does Iran have a problem with Israel? Iran's hatred for Israel is ideological, it's theological, it's strategic, it's prophetic, it is spiritual. I mean, Iran is the antithesis of everything that Israel is. A quick indication. Islam comes in two varieties or two flavors, Shia and Sunni. Most of the Muslims in the world are Sunni. By the way, Bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, Saudi Arabia, Egypt are Sunni Muslim majority nations. But Iran is part of the Shiite minority. That makes a difference. The Shiites have always been a minority. They've always been a victimized minority. And they believe in a line of divinely guided imams, meaning they believe that they are the right role or the right denomination of Islam, and they have a leadership that they can trace back to Muhammad, and he is good. That leadership is supposed to bring Islam back into ruling the Muslim world and, in extension, ruling the rest of the world. This is Shiite theology. The return of the Mahdi, this Islamic Messiah, is tied into chaos and war. They really believe that he's going to come back in war. Islam, by the way, is a religion of war. Muhammad said that the world is divided into two, Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Harb. Dar al-Islam means the world of Islam. Dar al-Harb means the world of the sword, or the world that needs to be taken for in the name of Islam. And it sees the Zionist infection planted by the West in the middle of this Muslim territory as a problem, as an obstacle to Islamic unity. This is a blasphemy against the Islamic dominance over the region. And so from their point of view, this is not only a war about politics or ideologies, this is a holy war. This is a divinely sanctioned war, and they say that again and again and again. This is a war for Jerusalem. This is a war for what Islam is supposed to do in the world. And ever since 1979, when the Islamic world actually rose to power, the hatred of Israel and the role that they have in destroying Israel and bringing down Israel has been a main aspect of the unifying glue that holds the Islamic Republic of Iran together. It's not the first time that we've seen this. Quick reminder, Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 1940s, uh, Adolf Hitler was elected democratically into power. One of the first things that he did when he was elected into power, okay, in Germany was dismantle the democracy. But one of the ways that he held Germany together and glued them together in order to achieve world dominance where he thought they should is by tapping into their hatred of the Jews. The hatred of Jews has been a unifying factor for all of these nations who decide that they want something to unify their people in a certain direction. And Iran has done exactly the same thing. Iran uses Israel in order to justify its diabolical regime. And that's something that people need to understand. Another interesting dynamic is, or another question that we need to answer is, why does it seem that Israel is always the aggressor? I've gotten this question from so many people. Why does Israel always attack its neighbors? What does Israel have with its neighbors? First of all, it seems like that in many cases because in some cases, Israel hits first, not to conquer, but to survive. People say we want to kill Israelis, and we will strike first. In 1973, Egypt and Syria signed a pact and said we're going to come together to destroy the Jewish entity in Israel. So Israel decided to preempt the war in 1967. By the way, very similar to what we did here. Iran is saying we're going to destroy Israel. So Israel preempts. Now, here's the thing. On the news, it looks like Israel is the first to strike. But we didn't strike to conquer. We have no reason to conquer Iran. We have nothing against Iran. We had very good relationship with Iran. We do this to survive. But the world, in a way that is very, very weird sometimes, doesn't see what led up to it. It only sees the explosions. It only sees the aftermath. And even if it does see what led up, I mean, look at what happened on October 7th in 2023. The world saw everything. But later on, what's important is the aftermath, is the explosions, it's the Israel attacking, and our enemies are experts at weaponizing their victimhood. They play the role of the oppressed. They play the role. I mean, Iran has been saying, we're great. We're going to put together a nuclear reactor, a nuclear program. We're sending weapons to the Russians. We're helping the Russians fight the war in Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. And then when they start getting hit, they all go into victimhood mode. Oh, why are we hitting? What are we doing? They fire from mosques and from hospitals, and then they use hospitals as bases and command posts, and then they say, why are you hitting the hospitals and why are you attacking our mosques? I mean, that's the idea. By the way, the day before yesterday, Iran hit a hospital in Beersheba. Today, they hit a mosque in Tel Aviv. I mean, literally, they have hit mosques and hospitals. Do you hear the world complaining about it? Do you see the demonstrations? Do you hear everybody complaining about hospitals? Literally, hospitals that were hit, literally hit. Okay? Again, the hypocrisy is sometimes horrific. Iran hides behind its civilians, and they store missiles inside civilian areas. They embed command centers in civilian areas. And when Israel strikes back, the cameras roll, the headlines scream, Israeli aggression, it's disproportionate response, there are civilian casualties. The press is looking for, and the world is looking for someone to blame Israel with. I've seen this personally. I've been in a peaceful demonstration back in the second Intifada, where they were just throwing rocks at us. That's a peaceful demonstrations. And me and my soldiers were standing, on one side of the road, they were standing on the other side. And then a shot rings out, and one of my soldiers falls, and he was shot by somebody in this peaceful demonstration. And I look out and I see somebody kneeling inside the peaceful demonstration with an AK-47. And the soldier was wounded. It didn't die. I mean, actually only slightly wounded. But the minute the shot rang out, the press, all of the CNN and the different press cameras didn't zoom in on the guy who was shooting. They zoomed in on me. Because theoretically, I could have dropped to my knee and put a bullet in him. But if I had done that, what you would have seen on CNN or the BBC the next day was an Israeli officer shooting into a peaceful demonstration. That's how the war is being fought. So you need to ask yourself, who fired first? Who started this war? Who uses human shields? As a military strategy, Israel's war is not just a physical battle. It's a battle for truth. It's a battle that is fought on every screen, on every feed, in every news broadcast, and now on every YouTube channel. And here's the tragic irony. Every time Israel defends itself, it's not just fighting terror, it's not just fighting an enemy, it's fighting the global opinion. It is fighting the inherent global anti Semitism that a lot of people have in them already and just looking for an excuse to blame Israel. In this war, the battlefield isn't only in the ground, it's in the minds of millions of the people and the hearts of those who still don't understand what we're really up against. I want to say, though, at this point, thank you, because I know that you, the ones who are watching this in most cases, understand. You're here because you do understand the difference. You're here because you do understand the importance of truth. You're here because you do understand what's going on is not only going on in the skies over Tehran. You understand what is really happening. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing your support for Israel. Thank you for being the ones that I can talk to and I see that they understand what the situation actually is. But I need you to help me spread this word. So, like I've said before, if this content makes sense to you, like, share, comment. By the way, comments are very, very important. But share this with other people. That helps the algorithm know that this message has to go as wide and as far as possible. Question number 6 that we had on the list here is, why do so many countries in the Middle East have a problem with Israel? And it seems like it does. I mean, everybody in the Middle East has had a problem. In the beginning, it was our closest neighbors. It's the Palestinians. I mean, everybody has an existential problem with Israel. And I'm going to say it like this. It seems today, and we know today, that Israel's existence, the fact that Israel exists, is enough to provoke rage in the Muslim world. Israel is a thorn in Muslim pride. It is a challenge to the Arab identity. It's a living, breathing reminder that God still looks out for his people. And every time a Muslim looks across the border or watches the news, they see a small Jewish state coming back from a terrible Holocaust, surrounded, attacked, almost, and yet thriving. They see a free democratic nation with innovation, with technology, with culture, and now with military strength, which is very, very critical in the neighborhood that we live in. Yes, we have our problems. Yes, our politics are a big balagan. But that image that we're looking at, that they are looking at, stings and raises tears in the eyes of most Muslims. It exposes what so many regimes have failed to provide for their own people. Freedom, stability, progress based on truth, based on biblical principles. And rather than fix themselves what they're doing wrong, they blame Israel. In 1948, the Arab world was offered a two-state solution. Here's Israel, here's an Arab Palestinian state, if you want to call it. They didn't know what Palestine was. And they rejected it in 1948. They rejected it in 1967 after they tried to destroy Israel and failed. Again and again, Israel has sought peace, has sought a compromise, has sought a coexistence. And again, the Arab and the Muslim world has rejected Israel's very right to exist. Today, it's clearer than ever, they don't want a two-state solution. They want a no-Israel state solution. That's the core of this. That's the problem that they have. They have a problem with the fact that Israel is not only living but thriving. And many of them have said it openly. And for decades, Israel has been portrayed in their mind as the enemy, as the problem. This narrative has become the unifying message in the whole Muslim world, which is deeply divided and deeply fragmented. And when nothing else works to bring the Arab world together, they turned to the hate of Israel. This hatred was used by Egypt in the 1950s and 60s to unify the Arab world, the pan-Arab dynamic. And it was supposed to bring together all of the Arab world and to attack Israel and destroy it. It failed. It was used by Al-Qaeda to mobilize the jihad and try to bring the whole world together behind them in jihad, and it failed. And now it's being used by Iran to justify their empire, their revolution, their war. And again, it's failing because some of the countries are waking up. Egypt and Jordan have realized what's going on, have made peace with Israel. And lately, the Abrahamic Accords that President Trump has been putting together has brought new partnerships online and has almost created a normalization with Saudi Arabia, which is the core of the Arab Sunni world. And many still see Israel as a Western implant, as a religious threat. And most of the Arab world, even though the politicians, the leadership is reaching some kind of pragmatic understanding, the rest of the world still sees Israel as a threat. And that is the main issue that we're talking about. This hatred for Israel isn't new. It's ancient. It goes back to Ishmael and Isaac, to Esau and Jacob. It goes back to Amalek and to Haman in the story of Esther and Purim. Okay, Israel is surrounded because the Bible told us that Israel would be surrounded. Israel is hated because the Bible told us that Israel is going to be hated. And Israel is targeted because Israel is the apple of God's eyes. And whoever looks at Israel, from any way that you slice it, from any way that you understand it, you have to see that God is still in control. And last but not least, how does the United States connect to all of this balagan? The United States of America has always been a major player in the Middle East and has been a major player on the world stage for ever since World War II. It's been the main player. But especially when it comes to Israel. For decades, America has been Israel's most loyal ally, supporting the defense, supporting technology, funding and supporting Israel's economy, sharing intelligence, providing diplomatic cover on the world stage. And I'm going to say, I believe deeply that the United States of America has prospered because it has blessed Israel. But in recent years, that kind of support has wavered. And the further American culture and American politics moves away, the further American politics moves away from its biblical roots, the more it's been sending mixed signals, maybe yes, maybe no. Israel is not the main important ally of the United States. We thought it is. The United States has been re-engaging with the Muslims, and we had a Muslim president but reaching out to the Muslims. He got a Nobel Peace Prize, even though he didn't do anything and didn't create any peace. Okay, and the United States has decided that we can engage with Iran, we can deliberate with them, and the weakening support of the United States for Israel, even in the UN, hesitating for times and not standing up to Iran. This looks like a weakness. To Israel, this is dangerous. So the plan was made to strike Iran while all of this was happening. But as we've said again and again, Iran isn't just a threat to Israel. Iran is a threat to global stability, and it's a direct threat to the United States of America. They chant death to America on a regular basis. Their hatred of the United States of America is part of their ideology, is part of their philosophy. It's not just a rhetoric. It's a political doctrine. It's the law. In some cases, it's the sacred law. And they see this as a sacred war against America. And Iran sees America as the ultimate barrier to its domination, not only in the Middle East, but ultimately to its domination of the world. Shiite Islam, the goal isn't just regional influence, it's world domination. That is their prophecy. That's their book of Revelation. That's how it's supposed to end. And it's supposed to be a Muslim caliphate that completely controls the world. And the Islamic Republic of Iran, remember, it's Islamic, okay, is dedicated to doing that. And what's standing in the middle of their world dominance? The United States of America. And that's why it isn't just about Israel. It's about freedom versus militant theocracy. It's about light versus darkness. This is not just a war about Israel. And from a spiritual angle, it even goes deeper. Genesis 12, it says this, and I think you've heard it on the radio. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. And this comes from Genesis 12, even though Senator Ted Cruz recently quoted that to Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson kind of knew how to, quote the actual verse and chapter. This isn't just foreign policy on the side of the United States of America. This is America looking out for God's people. How America treats Israel, especially during wartime, will have consequences for the United States of America. It's not just a geopolitical issue, it's an eternal issue. And that's what people have to understand. So, in conclusion, what is the real problem that we're dealing with? It's not about borders. It's not about politics. It's about God's brit, God's covenant with his people. Iran doesn't hate Israel because of its army or its economy. Iran hates Israel because it stands as proof that God is real, that his word is true, and Israel's survival is a testimony to that. Satan will use nations, will use ideologies, and will use missiles and drones to try to erase that testimony. But you and I both know he will fail because God never breaks his promise. So if you want a final summary of why this is all going on, is because Israel proves that God keeps his promises. And look, he's been doing it again and again, even in this massive war going on. And Satan is trying to prove that he doesn't. That is the core issue. So, whoa, you've heard the questions, you've heard the answers. Hear this. Israel is at war, but this war is not just about land. It's a war over truth. It's a war over light and darkness. It's good versus evil. It's God promises versus Satan lies. And at this moment, it's time for you to choose your side. Stand with Israel. Pray with urgency. Speak with courage about Israel. Refuse the lies. Push back against the lies. Push back against the darkness. Because when Israel stands, God's covenant stands. Israel needs you to remind the world what the connection is between God's people and God's promises. His word is true and will always be true. So this was a little bit of a long one. A couple of things. If this was interesting, please press the button. Hit the subscribe if you haven't. Share this with other people if you haven't. Comment below. Ring the bell. That really kind of connects it. And please share this with as many people as possible. We are losing the media war. We're losing to Satan's lies. And this is something that we have to fight against. In the meantime, if you want to stand with Israel in a more practical way, you can do it through the ministry that me and Christy are part of called Gihon Springs. We are supporting widows in Israel. We're supporting PTSD patients. We're supporting ministries, printing presses, and Jewish believing Christian ministries. So if you want to do that, go to gihonsprings.com or hit the QR code. I'll put this up here. You can kind of take a picture of this. I'll keep it up here for a while. If you do want to support me and Christy, tourism has not stepped in again, so we're looking for some way to make a living and somewhere to funding. So if this content is good for you, please be a part of this. And until then, pray for us. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for our leadership. Pray for the Iranians who are stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. And pray that the Prince of Peace will come as soon as possible. This is David Tal. This is a Balagan Connection. Hope to see you soon.